Here we have an example of two binomials that need to be multiplied together. Last year when you learned this or expanded these, you probably used the acronym FOIL that we have over here, which meant that you took your first terms and multiplied them together. Then you took your outside terms and multiplied them together. Inside terms and last terms. That's what FOIL stood for. So when you multiplied your first terms, you had 6x squared. And then when you multiplied your outside terms, you'd end up with negative 2x. Your inside terms was 15x. And your outside ones multiplied together or your last ones was negative 5. Then you could always simplify the middle two terms because they're like terms. The variable and the exponent on the variable is the same. So negative 2x plus 15x equals 13x minus 5. And that was the question evaluated and simplified. But when you see our next example down below, here we have three terms. So our first outside, inside, last doesn't work quite the same. We're still going to multiply the exact same way, but the acronym isn't something that we're going to use anymore. So we're still going to do 4 multiplied by the three terms behind, 4x multiplied by the three terms behind, and 3 multiplied by the three terms behind. So let's start that process. 4x times 2x squared is 8x cubed. 4x times 5x is 20x squared. 4x times 2 is 8x. And now we're going to start to multiply using the 3. 3 times 2 is 6x squared. 3 times 5x is 15x. And 3 times 2 is 6. We can now gather our like terms, our terms that are the same, meaning the variable and the exponent is the same. So 8x cubed is the only one that has an x cubed. Then we'll look for anything squared. 20 plus 6 is 26x squared. Anything with just an x on it, 8x plus 15 is 23x, and then no x's as our last. That question there is simplified fully. Alright, and sometimes we're going to have more brackets and a term out front. We start by distributing our negative 3 in. To distribute the negative 3 in is just to multiply. So negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. So we'll bracket those. And now let's FOIL expand our last two terms. So 2x times 5x is 10x squared. 2x times 2 is plus 4x. Negative 1 times 5x is negative 5x. And negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Now we need to expand our first binomial into those last terms that are there. So I'm going to first start by multiplying everything by negative 3x. So negative 3 times 10x squared is negative 30x cubed. Negative 3x times 4x is minus 12x. Negative 3x times negative 5 is positive 15x squared. As well, if you jump back, that's squared as well because there's two x's being multiplied by each other. Negative 3x times negative 2 is positive 6x. And last but not least, we need to gather our like terms. So we start with anything cubed, negative 30x cubed, minus 12 plus 15 leaves us with positive 3x squared plus 6.